Hello and welcome to the Fishing Guide Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Wiegmann. Chris Johnson is in the house.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, you're hotter than a barbecue grill right now.
Oh, it's gotten a little crazy.
I bet it's gotten crazy. So he lives around the house. So I was like, you got to come back and you got to start telling us some more goods. Give us some more of the juice. And so he brought and he actually brought some of his things, the older things that we've been visiting a little bit about. So you'll be able to see that. But Chris, tell us. Was it this week or was it last week you got mentioned on someone's YouTube channel?
It was back January 10th, I think. So 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago.
Right.
Actually got a big shout out from Randy Blockett on his channel that I was the best YouTube channel out there.
I know. Look at
Crazy.
that.
Yeah. Wild.
You jumped ahead of the Fishing Guide podcast, like about a couple million people. But that's good. I mean, that's pretty amazing because what the whole philosophy behind Randy's YouTube channel is I guess everyone knows it's not for live scope, and so and since Trump is giving everybody a pardon that everyone's getting a pre-pardon. If they use live scope, you're going to get a pardon this year.
Oh yeah.
So
lucky them.
But you don't need a pardon.
No.
Because you don't use that.
No.
So what was probably the first thing? What was the first thing someone said to you? Did someone call you and tell you that you were on there? Or?
Yeah, I actually had a friend of mine here send me a text, and he's like, "Hey, man, dude, Randy's plugging you on his channel right now." So, I immediately walked. I was in my shop building baits and walked over there and pulled it up, and he was still in the middle of the video.
Oh wow!
And I'm like, what? Holy cow! And it was kind of interesting though because a lot of people have commented on his channel over the last year since I won on the river, and there's been zero response about it. And then finally this week there was a little something, and I'm ultra appreciative of the plug and all the viewers that have jumped over and subscribed and jumped on my channel. It's been this week, last 6-8 days have been completely nuts, and
we're going to try and keep that rolling.
Yeah.
And so and I thought what was important is for you to come back and for you to actually tell your story again.
Yep.
And kind of refresh it, but actually you have things with you that you fish that are older ones.
Yep.
Older products. You wear the vest, and so you haven't been on the show. You haven't really talked about like the vest. So we want you to visit about that.
Yep.
About that throwback.
Yep.
And
there's a very interesting thing that happened as well around the vest, and I started wearing I fished the opens 2 years ago. When I went back to the vest, even Lucy was like, "I can't believe you're doing this. This thing is," she hates it, but I'm like, "Look, this is just who I am. I'm going to be true to who I am." And this was like 2.5 years ago or so, right after the national championship, and just this last week, Mike Iaconelli on his live, he's bringing the vest back. He's gonna wear one on the last day of the Leets, and it's kind of one of the deals. I kind of want to go, really, I guess you were going to bring it back, but sorry, some of us already been there. No, one of us,
That's right.
So, not dogging on him none. I just you kind of find it interesting to see how things come back around, and truthfully, it's not something I'm making up. It's really who I am, the angler I am. I think all of us as anglers, we float around trying to find our identity sometimes. And for me, it was just, I'm going back to who I wanted to be when I was a kid and growing up and becoming an angler. And from my boat to the tackle I use to the clothing I wear to really every aspect that I can possibly do, I want it to be that. And it's been the most comfortable thing I've ever done fishing because it's 100% what's inside here. And
Right.
it really makes it wonderful. So from wearing the vest, it's, first you think, man, I'm sticking out like a sore thumb. But now it's turned out that's okay.
That's right. And before the end of the show, Chris promised me that he would put it on. So if you're listening, of course you don't get the bonus.
Here,
but
we'll just do it right now.
Oh, all right.
Heck yeah.
All right.
Do it,
Well,
man.
you're gonna wear it during the show, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I'm good with it. I like wearing it.
Now I do have a question. When did that vest? How old's that vest?
Now this vest is not that old.
Okay.
I purchased this
because I was kind of thinking when you were younger that you might have been a little thinner.
I would have been. Yeah, this one would have swallowed me up.
It might have been. It might have been a little tight. Your original one.
I had an original one years ago, back in the '90s.
Yeah.
And but I do not have it still. But yeah.
All right, there we go. Now the show's official.
Now we're digging it. Yeah.
Now the show's official.
Yeah, right there.
There it is.
This is the real deal right here.
I love that. Oh, that is. That's now we can get down to the
now we're
nitty-gritty.
official.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Hold on. We're going to be all right.
All right.
There we go. I'm good.
Right. So now we're cooking. We'll get rid of some of this extra stuff that we don't need on the stage, but tell them in a nutshell, tell them about the Invitational, because the Invitational is a stepping stone to the real stepping stone of not having the newer electronics and winning against all the people that probably had it on their boat.
Yes. So back in April, I've been talked about this a lot. I won the Bass Nation qualifier on the Arkansas River.
Yep.
And won it out of my '86 Ranger, fishing old school with a spinnerbait and a jig, and just kind of carried that whole thing through with that. And I have no live scope. I have some traditional 2D sonar and a little bit of mapping. I have a flasher on the front. I don't have spot lock, no power poles, just a basic everyday tournament rig like you would have saw in 1986 or 87, more or less.
Right.
And but from that one event, it standing out so much with the way that I am, it just catapulted me into a whole different realm that I had dreamed about all my life of getting to do podcasts like these and my YouTube, and just a plethora of things have just happened from that one event, and just being who I am, and this old school way of things is, I don't even know how to explain it, but people are really drawn to it. And so it's been cool. I don't know quite how to put it in words. Your
whole life, though, is in a way kind of revolved around fishing. Mm-hmm. I mean, because your jobs that you had before, and going from sales and having your own bait store. Tell them about that, because a lot of people don't know that actually how deep your roots go.
Oh, yeah. Really, my entire life has been revolving around fishing. And truthfully, what made that happen was, as a child growing up, my dad was an avid tournament angler. And so I got to spend a lot of days at home. He was tournament fishing and fished with a lot of local guys. But as I got old enough, I began to tournament fish with him when I was 12, 13, 15. And I was getting to hang around these guys. And that's, at that point in my life, I was like, I want to fish. That's what I want to do. And after I got out of high school, I monkeyed around on some jobs, but then I got a job working for a marine dealership here in Springdale, because what I was doing was, I was like, I've got to figure out some way to put myself in the fishing business, because I love fishing so much. So I became a service tech, working on outboards and boats and rigging boats. And I rigged a lot of tournament boats for a lot of these local gurus around here, and just had so much fun with that. So everything I ever did job-wise, I then went on to have my own boat shop for a while with a partner of mine, Ralph, and we did that for a number of years, and then kind of got out of that, and that's how I kind of got into tile setting, which was completely off the page. I don't even know. But a good buddy of mine that was a fisherman was like, "Hey man, I need some help." So got off into that. But later on, I got into again.
Came back to retail.
Yes, I was again back to fishing. I was like, I want to get back to where I want to think about fishing all the time. And we bought a tackle store and did all that. And then we ended up closing that store during the downturn, which that is what it is. But immediately went to work for another big major tackle store in town, to moving into Cabela's and doing big time retail.
Yeah.
So I went through all these avenues and just constantly looking for a way to blend my life and my love for fishing with what I was doing for work, which has completely evolved into, and to look back at it all that experience added up to me being able to have my own company now, building lures and retailing. And
your own lure company.
My own lure company,
And
yes.
what's it called?
Arkansas Custom
You
Tackle.
can throw a plug out there.
Yeah, I'm always still wary, but Arkansas Custom Tackle, and we build a whole line of spinnerbaits and jigs of a lot of old school stuff that's kind of gone by the wayside, and I've really seen a lot of interest in it, so it's been really nice. And then I still set tile in between all that to keep money moving, and then I fish tournaments on top of that. So you accumulate all that together with this win, and all of a sudden it's really came together to be perfection for me. And truthfully, I told somebody this just the other day. I said, I can't believe that even, I'm not some mega pro or anything like that, but to be known all across around the country and to have people commenting from all over, all over, and call me up, say, man, we're rooting for you every minute. You're our guy. And has been quite humbling to be treated like I'm somebody has been really magical, and to be the person I always wanted to be in the fishing world. And I'm just taking it all in right now. I'm going to take my time in the sun and just keep up with that. So.
I think some of it is because you're authentic. So people that know you, like me, and people have known you for a super long time. Not that I'm old.
Me neither.
But we did fish Lake of the Ozarks.
Yes,
I was
we
the
did.
co-angler, and you were the...
Man, how long ago was that, though?
You were probably fishing. It was a brand new 1984 boat, probably.
Yeah, probably was.
Almost. But, I think that's where it comes off. And also the fact people are trying to get information on how to fish. Because in reality, even though they show all the shows on TV and the tournament things, they all show the real nice boats and stuff. But if you go back, there's still so many... a population of kids that are still fishing from the shore, fishing from a dock, fishing from a john boat, kayaks, kayaks that don't have electronics,
that they
and
paddle and to get
so that information that is like gold to them,
yes,
because all the other information that they're getting has to do with live scope. So how do you catch fish on a jig head minnow? Okay, well I think we can pretty much say that every article that probably ever needs to be written has probably been written about that
there's a
the
lot,
new something that would come out new in that would be it would have to be something that is different. And on the other hand, how progressive someone can be when they fish, when they go to do that. So you start with your roots, and that's where they're finding you. That's where they're finding that information in your YouTube channels to put that out that hey, I was walking down the bank the other day and I wish I'd have known to do that, or why those guys that they never tell you why they have that red or orange blade on their spinnerbait, because they, no matter how YouTube friendly they are, they don't tell people
everything.
They don't give you everything, because you still got to win, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you still got to make some money.
You still got to figure all that out. And I think you're exactly right on this. There's so many people out there that really, truthfully, so many are already disenfranchised with the sport because I I want to go down this path that you see somebody it's priced everybody out. I don't believe that. Fishing has not priced anybody out. Now, if you want to look at $100,000 boats and $50,000 worth of electronics, you can price yourself out of fishing.
That's the difference. Yeah,
you can. But the thing about it is there's so much going on out there that are saying you can't compete because you don't have enough equipment or you can't fish. You need better. You need better. You need the best. And I just say that's not true. Fishing, and I did a video on this the other day. It's strictly what you make it. Even from a competitive standpoint, is for me personally, the only goal I have is for anybody. I don't care if they're 14 or 50. If they want to go fish tournaments or get into this sport, and they've got a decent any kind of rig to go with or a way that they can go, have a great time, catch a lot of fish, and not feel like they can't. And there's so many that feel like they can't. I hear it all the time. Sure enough, from a competitive standpoint, man, if I just had a better boat, if I just had more of this, if I just had that, and I'm like, man, you got more than I got right now, and you don't have to, and it can be done, So that's been the best part. I like some of this here lately is just proving that it can still be done. And that people can know that,
Now let's get into these tackle boxes a little bit, because you're going to have to read what it says on the side of these boxes in case they can't see it. But you got a guess on the year on that box? What year that would be?
Yeah, I'm going to say,
do?
This box is, I've got a bunch of old Bass Pro catalogs from back in the 80s.
All right.
I get a pretty good idea about what these boxes are. So just everybody knows I use these boxes. These are the boxes. These came out of my boat. I just grabbed them out of that to come here. These are the boxes I grew up with as a kid. And so I've picked them up when I can, and I put them to use. And the interesting thing is my boat I fought it for a little bit, but it's set up for these boxes, to use these kind of boxes. And it really makes my experience great, because this is what was designed to use in the equipment I use.
So what year?
I'm going to say this is, I'm going to say it's around probably an 85, 84, 85.
It says Rebel Excalibur on it. And it has the real transparent plastic, like lids on.
So it's just, I don't know if you can see in there, but
he's filled it full of jigs. This one has all your jigs.
Yep. This is strictly a jig box. It's got the bucktail. I did a video on bucktail. This whole side's full of bucktail jigs, except for a few that I use.
Are bucktails? You sell bucktails? You make bucktails popular?
Yep. We're going to make them popular again.
Okay.
Yep.
There you go.
I do still use a bucktail a lot, and I guess we could say make bucktail great again. But
I guess
I got spider jigs and regular, full skirted jigs on this side. That's my box I use for jigs.
All right. Now let's see another one. The next one is actually a hip. Isn't that called a hip tackle box?
Well, no, this is a drawer type box.
Oh, that's a drawer. But you remember the hip, right?
Yeah.
The hips were the ones that opened in middle. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it would have opened crossways like this with drawers. So this is a model, a 7777, an old Plano. This box would have been somewhere in the late 70s model box when this would have been out. Maybe around early 80s, but my Bass Pro catalog, I got a 75 model that had this very color and box in it, so it's somewhere in that mid-late 70s. They made this particular box in a lot of different drawer configurations. So you had a 777, a 7777, like a 777S that was saltwater with bigger plugs. But these old boxes, you just open them up, and they just have drawers that you just stack your baits in. So back in the old days, a guy would have just had this one box, and one drawer would have been Texas rigged worms, and one drawer would have been jigs, and one drawer would have had a few crankbaits. But this particular box is it's all full of crankbaits, and they're the ones I use fishing all the time. And I have another box, the twin to this one in my boat. that's got top waters and jerk baits and
Right.
another whole plethora of things. But each drawer's got kind of a theme to it. On here's some.
Yeah, you pointed that out earlier. What's that called? In case they're
That's a Rebel Super R.
so if you know and you have one of these, tag us in this
There you go. Yep.
podcast and tell us.
Yep.
Send us a picture. Let's show it to us.
So it's a old
Bone
classic
and orange.
bait. Yep. Oh man, fantastic color. But the old crawdad, that was one of my dad's favorite baits, and still one of mine. But each drawer, old shad wraps is one of my favorite baits, and so each drawer's kind of themed. This, a bunch of, here's a vintage old Balsa B3 that I still use. Here's an old, these are lures I fish with. Old wedge lip Balsa B3. This is a 70s model bait right here. So,
what else do you have in your boat? Here, we'll set this off to the side. What else do you have in your boat that is old? Is there something else that you have in besides yourself?
I have, I fish with the old Lowrance flashers, which is what I grew up with. So they're all old. I'm going to say they're early 80s to mid 80 model that I have. I've got in-dash flasher in my console that still works.
Like a 1240A or something?
1240A. I also have a Lowrance digital temp gauge on my bow, just 3001 Lowrance digital temp, just like all boats were rigged back in the 80s.
Right.
Old stuff. In today's world, I still got lead batteries. I don't have lithium or any of that stuff.
Right.
I have when it comes to my rig, my outboard is a 87 carbureted Mercury 200.
Right.
Some guy even asked me the other day, he's like, what is that thing? I said, it's old.
It's old.
So you're going to get some blue smoke when you see me idling by, but there ain't nothing like smell of TCW3 in the morning. So,
oh my gosh, you imagine what the price is of boat oil is now compared to when you bought it in
it's ridiculous.
The late 80s.
Yeah, compared to $10 a gallon, and now it's
it was even like $6, I think, when I used to buy it.
Yeah, I agree.
We bought it at Lakeland Marine in the bottle.
That
wasn't
drum,
even marked.
Yep.
So we even got it cheaper yet.
Whatever. Yeah. Now, I think if you bought a Mercury gallon of TCW3 and Mercury, it'd probably run you $40 or something.
At least.
So, but I don't. I got the little pint bottles, and I pour them in my tank and mix them just like the old days. And
well, let's go. If you can give someone a tip about fishing, and just fishing, and you don't have electronics, what's something that sticks out that says, hey, this is the one thing, if I get to the water, this is the one thing I look at, and I go from there. That's where I build. That's where I start, because instead of putting my head down, driving around looking, I'm going to do this.
If I had to say one thing, is no matter what water you're given, so if you're fishing off the shore, if you're in a small boat, whatever, the biggest thing I see, and the biggest thing you can do to make yourself productive, is become a great cast, be able to cast well, and pay attention to every cast.
Okay.
And I don't even get off in. We won't even get off into lure selection or anything like that. Just be in tune with what you're doing. So if you'll go along, even fishing off the shore, and you'll begin to really pay attention to the shoreline, what you're fishing, where you're casting, and break that apart. Like literally go, I see a little nook goes in the grass there. I need to cast in there. Now I see a little stick sticking out here. I need to cast there. No matter what lure you're fishing with, is be thorough, be patient, make all those casts, and think about all those casts. Go, I'm going to fish this cast in, and I'm going to make another one to that. I'm going to look right. Oh, I see that stick. Fish that cast in. Now I'm going to see that little piece of rock, or I see some rocks coming out in the water. I'm talking about just standing off the shore. I'm gonna cast on this side of that rocks, and I'm gonna fish that cast. I'm gonna pay attention when I'm reeling, and I'm gonna make the next cast on the other side, and I'm gonna pay attention when I'm reeling. And once I get a bite, somewhere in that process, you're going to get a bite. And when you get that bite, if it was off the end of that little nook in the weeds or off the end of that stick or on those rocks, and if you're paying attention to that cast and you were reeling and you bumped the rocks and then you got the bite, the fish have now told you
right,
the retrieve, how you need to start approaching that day at that time. And if you're walking the shore and you begin to look for, there's some more little rocks right there, I'm going to make that cast. And you're going to catch fish. That's the number one factor. I don't care whether you've got all the equipment in the world or none. If you'll use that process, fishing, you will be successful and you will enjoy your process of fishing. So I think most people they go too quick. They get distracted, throwing around. Next thing you know, they're hung up, frustrated.
right.
And next thing, but that's what I do.
All right. Well, that takes us to Tackle Time. Tackle Time sponsored by PICO Lures. Of course, PICO Lures has their mold for their crankbaits go way, way back. And so I don't know if I feel like I'm fishing old school when I'm fishing them, but that's the process. And they have a whole line of hard and soft baits, and you can check them out at picolures.com. Yep. Chris, tell us a little bit about ACT.
I will. It's Arkansas Custom Tackle. You can check us out on Facebook. We have a Facebook page there. You can reach out to us. Our phone number's there.
Okay.
We make a full line of ball head jigs, bucktail jigs, big bucktail like feather jigs, spinner baits of all sizes, buzz baits, jig heads, any number of things like that. We make a whole lot of stuff, and reach out to me if you see something there you like. We also sell to all the local stores in our area, the Southtown, Hook, Line, and Sinker, Rock Springs and Harrison, and a couple other stores out and about. So we're out there too, but you can also call me on the phone and be glad to, if you don't know quite what you want, we'll sit down on the phone and figure it out. All
right. Sounds good. Like I always like to end the show, make sure you keep your hook sharp and your lures in the water.
Nice.